for coming today. As you guys know, this FinTech Startup Showcase, tons of fun stuff planned. So this is me, Shweta, and Steve Vilkis. We are the co-leaders of Boston Technology. If you don't know what is Boston Technology, I'll tell you in a minute. But I am one of the CPOs, have been a startup advisor for 10 plus years, go-to-market expert, have been advising founders on different stages, have launched multi-million dollars of products, worked in finding fortune and startups as well. So really passionate about what we're doing at BNT. And Steve is a serial entrepreneur, he's a mastermind, couldn't have done without his help.
Good to see everybody here. Welcome on the Thursday night. I hope you guys dug yourselves out pretty good. Ben Maitland-Lewis, Director of Startup Banking here at SVB. A lot of you guys know me already, so forgive me for the spiel, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Founder for over 20-something years, had a couple exits, many more fail forwards, YC alum, Techstars super mentor as of like last week or whatever, and angel investor in a bunch of companies before I came to SVB. And been here now for 2 years last week, so specifically focusing on the EIN formation through the Series A inflection point, so it's super like high touch, hand-to-hand combat. It's a lot of tactical support in the trenches with the founders, which is super, super awesome. We don't want them to stay down there forever, so we're constantly working with them to figure out their go-to-market, their strategy, their fundraising, and everything else to be successful as possible so they can graduate through the rest of the bank and then come back and do it again. We work with a ton of repeat founders and everything else, and we also have private wealth advisors that come in and focus working with individuals with less than $1 million in AUM, which is massive. I really want to actually underline that because as a founder, me personally, I made a bunch of mistakes. I left a lot of money on the table because I didn't even realize that I could like write off my R&D spend for payroll taxes and et cetera, and that's what a lot of those guys do. So now I just proactively unlock a lot of those resources for founders and have a really good time doing it. So if you guys need anything, let me know. Here all night. Bathrooms back there on the right-hand side. Just don't walk into the glass door because it'll hurt. Food's right here. Bars are going to be open the whole time. Once we're done with this, more music will happen. We've got a really cool panel as well coming up after these awesome pitches. So enjoy your night. If you need anything, flag me because I'll be over here as the presentation monkey. Sound good?
Thank you, Ben. Give a big round of applause for Ben. Thank you. And we want to invite Jason, our partners from Startup Brian. Thanks to Jason, Steve, Talal, and Paul as well. Just raise your hand. Yeah, thank you so much for your help.
Perfect. Representing Startup Grind Boston, we're the local chapter, one of several hundred chapters around the world. Startup Grind started in Silicon Valley, which is with a simple mission of learning from experts, entrepreneurs, bringing the community together and providing a place where people can give first, give to each other, make friends and not just connections. And again, really proud to have Paul and Talal and Giancarlo joining us. Paul and Talal are Northeastern students that joined our team officially in helping us create university relationships and expanding the chapter. And Giancarlo is actually a high school student. This is his first startup event, and he's helping us with our marketing as well.
Giancarlo, yeah, so there he is. Thank you so much. We're going to have Startup Showcase. So we have a couple of founders, 3 minutes for each, and then we'll take 2 minutes questions from the audiences. And we're going to have an amazing panel. We're going to talk about FinTech and AI and what it means for founders in the current economy. And then we're going to do lots of networking after that, and we'll close out. And then with that being said, so as you might be thinking, what is Boston Technology for people who don't know? We've been around for more than 17 plus years. It's a community, it's a platform for founders, entrepreneurs, whether you're first-time founders, serial entrepreneurs, technologists, data. I come from product tech and AI and startups. We have tons of founders who have went and raised money, who have co-founded, so tons of things. It's every Thursday online where founders can come in. We have a couple of mentors from different backgrounds who give you real feedback. We have Product Lab starting on March 23rd. If you want to learn about that, feel free to talk to me. We have on March 15th, we're going to do an event which is going to talk about product market fit, what it means for founders. I have seen founders spending 2 years, 3 years just trying to get their first paid clients and burning money, burning energy and all those things. If you have an idea, you can come and build your startups. Last year we had 300 people joined in, 21 startup came out of it. This year we have on May 1st to May 3rd, so feel free to come and talk to me. We have tons of things on Boston Tech Week series as well. We are also hosting the Startup World Cup and CIC, Japan Desk, TechCrunch. Founders will have 3 minutes And we're gonna have 2 minutes question from the audiences. We're gonna start with the founders.
My name is Maria Tiguero. I'm the co-founder CTO of Real-Time Taxes. You're doing your taxes, right? January 15th was the last date you had to pay your estimated taxes for 2025. If you didn't get the right number, you're facing penalties, and you didn't even have all the information to make that payment on January 15th. 9% of taxpayers underpay their taxes to the point that they owe a penalty every year. 70% of us overpay our taxes. $500 billion a year in tax overpayment every year. Real-time taxes, we're addressing that. We're giving our users visibility and control of their tax withholdings so that April becomes a planned outcome. If you're underpaying, you'll know exactly how much you're underpaying so you can plan for it. If you'd like to get that big bonus check in April, we'll put that into an interest-bearing account. This is what our app looks like. When you log in, you get a consolidated view of all your income from your W-2 jobs, side gigs, anything you've got going on. We'll tell you what you paid in taxes so far and where you're headed. If you want to change where you are, we will update that, and then we will let you know which pay cycle that takes effect. This is our market slide. In 4 years, we're expecting to be at around 2% of the taxpayers. That would give us a 300 million ARR. We're monetizing 1099 estimated quarterly payments, and we're monetizing the people that like to get those big checks in April and take a small piece of that float. Our traction, we've got a lot of traction with banks, payroll providers, and users. Initially, we're using college students. They've got mixed income from 1099s. Our second group is realtors. Realtors have very lumpy, large income, 1099 income. We're gonna offer where they can submit their 1099 into an RTT account. We set aside their taxes on their behalf and forward the net to them. Next slide. This is the team making it happen. William, doing a great job of supporting the slides. Myself, we've got our senior advisor who is Felix, 35-year IRS veteran. Next slide. And the competition, they're trying to make the legacy after the fact filing better. We're making it proactive. Next slide.
Perfect. How would you gather income data for
So we're leveraging Plaid and Argyle data feeds. So with every income event, if it's a W-2 job, we'll get a copy of the pay stub. We'll see how much you've earned in income. We will see how much was paid in taxes. If it's 1099, again, that's gonna go through one of our accounts. So yeah, that's how we get the consolidated view. Other questions? Yeah.
How do you manage the education factor of letting people know they even need this in the first place?
So that's outreach. For the initial customers, we're going through colleges. A lot of colleges are trying to educate their students on financial responsibility. We're leveraging that ecosystem so that we can be part of that education process. They can use our product. With realtors, I just happened to mention this to a realtor in my area. The entire office is asking when they can start using it. So this is one of those sparks that catches their Tinder. Oddly, people don't like the IRS. It's like they don't like to overpay their taxes.
They feel more in control.
Yeah, it's as if they want control of their
I
money.
have a question. How much you guys, what's the revenue model?
So the revenue model depends on AGI. So anybody making less than $50,000 a year, we're not charging for the product. Anybody that's making between $50,000 and $100,000, we're charging, I believe, $10 a month. Over $100,000, we're charging $15 a month.
We'll take one more question. Yep.
Awesome product, by the way. Do you guys work with consumer only, or do you also like work with businesses? Like, an example, I was like a small startup have like almost no income. But,
Yeah, no, we're focused right now on the individuals, only on individual tax return. There's been a lot of demand from small businesses. Small businesses right now have QuickBooks, which I know does not do this for them, and that's why a lot of small businesses are asking for us to do it. But we want to do what we're doing right first. That's a point of expansion.
All right. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Jimmy Katakuruse, co-founder and CEO of iConic by ApplePay. ApplePay is probably focused in the problem all Africans living in the US face. Sending money back home is expensive, slow, and fragmented. That's why we come with the solution Apply Pay. Apply Pay, next, is a cross-border payment to send money instantly from the US to the globe. Second, a global wallet to hold multiple currencies. Next, please. In the meanwhile, sending the remittance to Rwanda doubled from 2020 to 2023. And sub-Saharan Africa increased by 12 billion. Our markets will refocus first to Rwanda, which gave us a sum of $300 million and service addressable markets for $3 billion and the total addressable market of $7 billion. We already validate with 95 users before now. And our go-to-market strategy is tailored to reach all Rwandans living in the US and other Africans. Our business model is simple: $0 per month for individuals and focus in FX markup, and for businesses $14.99 per month. This is our competitor, World Remit, Nala, and CheaperCash, Remitly, and others. Our competitors are focused on banking rails and correspondent network, but for us, it's hybrid. Traditional banking at the front end, and the back end is stablecoins at the settlement to improve the speed of settlement and the speed of money transfer. The target audiences is not only focused for African diaspora. We believe that international travelers as well face the problem of FX exchange around the world. Today we are raising $700,000 focused in product management and build the infrastructure and legal regulatory compliance. For this big project, we need a big team. Myself and others, we have more than 10 years of experience in fintech and investment banking.
Which stablecoin are you using?
We're still discussing about that. We believe that in a couple of weeks we'll know exactly which one. But we're still in discussion.
When your existing competitors, for example, Wise is already doing it and they are also able to send the money in seconds, then why add stablecoin payment rails when it's already being done without it, or already the problem is sort of already been solved?
I mean, for us, we are focused in first of all, the African diaspora, starting with Rwanda, which Wise and others don't do right now. And from there, we will expand. So Wise is focused on other markets, but we are focused first to Rwanda and diaspora and expand to the markets of Africa.
Not because they're responsible, but because persons judge history instead of behavior. When an emergency hits, people push to pay loans, cash advances, or high interest debt. Across cultures, communities already solve this problem themselves through saving circles, susus, tandas, or rotating table groups. They work socially, but they break down because there's no structure, protection, or automation. The problem isn't people, it's a lack of infrastructure. INARA is a community savings platform that enables people access to meaningful capital without loans or predatory lenders, built on contribution behavior rather than credit scores. Rather than borrow from institutions, members fund each other through structured contribution cycles. Everyone picks a pool and contributes a fixed amount weekly. Each member receives a lump sum payout once per week. This replaces emergency borrowing with planned liquidity. When someone selects the pool, there are 3 safeguard while payouts ever begin. Before joining the pool, each member contributes a one-time security deposit equal up to 1 week's contribution. This deposit is not a fee, and it is not interest, it remains the member's money. It is only used if someone misses the payment, protecting the rest of the group from disruption. Next slide, please. We use a prepaid date, so payouts only happen once the next week's contribution is secured. In the rare cases where someone drops out, INARA swaps them with the next eligible member from our global queue, keeping the pool intact. Our launches through sponsored pilot programs, not mass consumer advertising. We partner with trusted institutions such as the Chamber of Commerce, community organizations, universities, and workforce programs to set up time-bound stable cohorts for their members and communities. INARA's vision is to have access to capital be a normal planned part of everyday life, not a debt-driven decision. My name is Richard Holmes, I'm the founder of INARA. Thank you.
Any questions?
Can you walk through an example of something that a group would be saving for and how it would work on the platform?
So whether it be like a regular person saving for like a car, or it could be a business, depending on if you're a business owner and you have like an overhead, you have a broken refrigerator, or you need to hire someone. Just depending on the pool, what pool you're in, depends on the payout. So currently there's different pools, a $50 pool, $100 pool, $200 pool, and each payout is $2,000, $1,000, $500, depending on which pool that you're in. So you can also join multiple pools. What you're able to do is blend liquidity into your life as opposed to just debt. Currently, there's no model for access to capital without debt. So we're just trying to have change that a bit and offer a different alternative.
Are you guys looking to expand into developing or undeveloped countries?
Absolutely. It's actually, this model is actually based on the SUSU, which I mentioned earlier. It's actually based on the SUSU model, Safe and Circle, which is a model that's established all over the world. I'm currently from Jamaica, and we use the SUSU model. Western Africa, Southern Africa, in Asia, it's called the rotated statement circles, or ROSTAs. So it's based on models that's already used throughout the world. So absolutely, as soon as it's established in the US and we have a good foundation.
So how do you plan to compete with the bigger banks?
Currently, the only other brand that's similar to this is there's a company called SUSU in New York. They focus a little different. They focus on reporting for credit reporting. But when it comes to infrastructure and providing structural savings and having this alternative to like enable access to capital, like there's not much competition out there. Google did try to do this at one point, like 2012. But yeah, other than that.
Last question?
Oh, sure. Yeah, there are a couple companies like Earnin, and if you search like cash advance on the App Store, that there are a couple companies where they will kind of give people like progressive cash advances up to like a couple $100 based on their behavior. How would you distinguish from those?
Those are our direct competitors in the sense that like in our philosophy is providing access to capital without loans or predatory lenders. They're predatory lenders. Like right now, your credit cards are like 30% APR. If you get a loan or for Earnin or for $100, you're paying $120 back. So there's just no access to capital without there being some debt that you're able to.
Albert charges a subscription fee and all of it.
Everything, even like what they say, if you want to donate, like that's, yeah, of course you're gonna, yes, we're gonna give you money, but it's predatory. So there's no access to capital.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Mo Saeed, and I'm the co-founder of GeoHR. We are building up a network for frontline workers, and today you can start learning. Over 50% or half of American population does not really have a full-time jobs. They're working as gig workers, they're working as a 1099 contractors. That means they're hustling. They have to have multiple jobs actually to be able to find work. This does not really support any kind of benefits. So in order for us to do this thing, the system that was built earlier cannot support it. And I can just tell you what really happened. I came to this country 30 years ago, and my first job was at McDonald's. And when I walked into McDonald's, they gave me actually a clipboard and a paper application. Guess what happened today? We are living in an AI era. So this has not been changed. It takes almost 2 weeks for somebody to get a job. The system was built for a different era. It's an integrated system. And you can go to the next one. Actually, the employer has no visibility, real-time visibility, to figure it out whether the person who has applied for a job is also available, because there is no way for them to figure it out. And this has become a really big problem for employers, because half of them, when they are ready to actually pull the application from the file, they are gone, or they are not available. So this problem is really what we have worked on, and we think it's important that the process that takes 2 weeks to hire can be reduced into maybe 30 minutes. We have built Clio. Clio is an AI agent that the whole hiring process in one stream. When you scan a QR code, Clio engages you, Clio qualifies you, and Clio also does the verification. And verification is very important because most of the time you get a lot of applicants who are not qualified for the job or not verified. At the same time, Clio builds what we call is a profile of a person with fit score. Fit score is really whether that person is available or not, or ready to work. So those are some of the things we have built it, and then manager can actually review it, and in one click whether they want to hire that person. And then within that, we have built the whole compliance and verification process embedded. So the goal is that from scanning a QR code all the way to hiring can reduce the time from 2 weeks into 30 minutes. But I want to show one more slide. So the last thing I want to do is that what we are doing is building a network. Network is that each employee, each person who has applied for it is being verified, and he's part of the node, and Clio will become actually what I call is the dispatcher of the system. Right now, we have one employer and multiple verified candidates, and over time, this network will grow, and then we will be able to do it. An employer can literally scan and hire the candidates because those are verified. Thank you very much.
Interesting concept. Like, I think the federal system is E-Verify. Right?
Yes.
Does Clio do that step?
Yes,
Or do
Clio
you
act-
also do that step with the federal.
So we are DHS approved vendor. It's called employer's agent. So we can do I-9 verifications, we can do e-verifications, and we can do background checks and all of those things in one stream in literally in few minutes. We can get those things done rather than waiting for a few days working with other vendors.
I was really curious about what markets you are working with, especially I was thinking about healthcare. There's a lot of governmental professionals, personal care people who really need to have multiple shifts and apply. It takes them a month to hear back and then work.
Yeah, so this is exactly what we are working on it. The goal is that each one will have actually what we call as a passport, a verified passport with all the information, all the data, all of those things in one place, and you can go into one provider to another by simply showing your QR code, and they can scan and literally potentially they can hire you on the spot, ever filling out any paperwork.
Do sort of the skills and capabilities come in? Like I understand that you're, because the speed and everything you said makes total sense, and it's a very inefficient market right now. But where and how are they evaluating skills to know that they actually want to hire this person?
She is going to be asking several questions, and that is really important, that whether that person is qualified. Remember that we are looking for frontline workers. They are working for McDonald's, they are working for other places. There are 80 million Americans who are already having multiple jobs. Clio actually is trained as an agent to ask some specific questions, and some of them are like, are you legal to work? Do you have a transportation? Do you have a car? Do you have an experience working in the kitchen? All of those things, Clio does it, and she calculates the score. We call it FIT score. So that is really the intake. She's engaged with the candidates, and it literally takes 3 minutes for Clio to build the whole profile and the FIT score.
The background check that you
Yes.
did. Today, to do a background check, the Fed only allows the company to do it. We as vendors cannot go and say we want to verify this guy. But if a company is hiring, they can go and get the background check. So how are you circumventing that?
No, I'm not circumventing it. Actually, we call it human in the loop, right? At the end of the day, if we are not automating the human out of the existence, manager will actually have actual conversation. We are just streamlining the whole process. And once they decided actually to run a background check, it's really Sally in the back office. She does the onboarding, she reviews the file, and she can press the button and run the background check, provided it's approved by the employer. Yes.
We could also use a company like called Checker as an example. Like my last company, we had 8,700 1099 contractors, and we background checked every single one of them, not our clients. We just put them through Checker, so we had everything there, and it was all pulled in. So you can do it as the intermediary.
Yes.
Is that the question? Like.
Yeah, it was my question, because
Yeah.
they generally say you have to be the hiring person for you to do a background check.
You
The
can
person
do it for
being
these
hired has to
instances.
perhaps authorize your background check.
Yeah.
They don't care who actually does it, it's always a third party, it's never the company who's hiring. The job offer will say, sorry, will say, do you authorize a background
That's all
check?
right.
Yes, I do.
The program you're working on is like a filter. Like we have a compiled
It's
resume,
great.
do a filter instead of somebody filtering.
Yes.
That's like the main function, right?
One of the functions, yes. One of the functions is to really streamline the whole process, right? Because the process was built for the different era, right? Where you have once in a while you get a job. Now people have working continuously, they have to have multiple jobs, so they need to have a system that can actually accommodate this. And that is really the key, is the response to the changing world we are living in today.
All right, that's all.
Thank you.
We'll take a quick photo and then we'll have a panel, so feel free to come in really quickly.
I was not drinking in the picture? Okay.
Do not take the photo.
Share on this one.
And then outside of that, you're seeing a lot of very boring, mundane businesses that are the ones getting fixed. If they're solving those boring problems, the back office problem, how do we do loan agreements from 2 weeks to 1 week? How do we do our taxes? Like, there's things that are like, honestly, boring. I mean, I know you love taxes, but just like, those are the things that, you know, can have a real impact on someone, that they can trust and everything else. And those are the things that actually are getting funded fast. But I am such a true believer in just grit and creativity and just doing it. Like the Kool-Aid guy, just like breaking through a wall. Weird, because guess what? I mean, you know, I get a lot of inspiration from people that like, don't care about the competition, right? And also being first to market, I think, is also overblown a lot of times, because all you're doing is paving the road for other people to come in right behind you. And so I think it's more about having the authenticity, like Stan with financial therapy. Like, I haven't seen other financial therapy-based things out there or anything else. It's something that's true to you, that you've had a personal experience with, same here, and like, you have conviction on it, right? With, you know, with the money stuff and the cross-border transfers and everything else, you've had personal experience with it, and you know what I mean? And that, I think, is a secret sauce above any and all the noise. If you have true passion, purpose, you can articulate the North Star, which means people will follow you and you will go there. You will carve out a really nice place for yourself in the ecosystem. I mean, honestly, brands like freaking, what's the water company that I freaking love so much that I just don't drink enough water? Like Liquid Death. Really, whoever thought they're gonna wake up one day and be like, I'm gonna start a water company? Honestly, dumbest idea ever. And on top of that, they didn't even have like good minerals in it. They were just like, it was a tap water. But it was the branding, it was the positioning, it was the thing. So I'm a believer.
Well, I agree. Investors, or just in general, people look at founders and do they have conviction in their own ideas? Like, can I trust this person? Ideas will develop, right? I have seen founders who have amazing ideas, but they can't even tell their story. You have to be really passionate in how you can convey your story. And as Ben mentioned, like, coming from your experience, your secret sauce, right? You have done something, you have seen the problem, and you're trying to solve it. And I agree. What I've seen is founders are like, oh, I don't want to lose thing, I have to compete. Like, there are 5 companies are popping up every day, I have to keep on going. That noise, you're losing what is the main purpose you have to focus on. I have seen when I talk to founders, they're like, oh, I have this, and you know, early stage, or they're like in MVP or getting pilots. Like, I'm gonna do this 10 things. I'm like, why 10 things? Because my competitors are doing everything I want to. I'm like, no, you're focusing on the wrong problem. You don't have to do 10 things, you just have to do 1 or 2 things. And that's what will lead you to next success.
It's really tough for me.
Why don't we take questions from the audience? Any questions you guys have?
I actually have quite a personal question. As someone who's, I guess, into a seeking job in the job market now, how important is it to understand AI tools to just help myself become more efficient within my everyday job? And the follow-up to that is, how can I navigate the actual data problem of compliance and understanding what sensitive data that I can't show in AI and what I can?
I say go for it. The worst that's going to happen is you're going to up-level your skills and figure out a few things, and then through doing so, especially if you're looking for a job or internship, you can leverage a bunch of tools to put yourself out there faster, more efficiently, in more places to increase your access for potential callbacks. But again, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to be able to talk about the landscape. You know, I think that's really it. And I wouldn't worry about compliance at your stage unless you're like looking to work at a bank, and then you know, then it's a whole thing. I would just say go for it. Just make it happen, man. I mean, God, I wish this stuff was around when I was building.
I want you to pick 5 tools, and you like, there are hundreds of tools popping up, like which ones, right? But if you're trying to get into data, Perplexity is good for research, and I play around with cloud coding. But also, if you're into data, try Julius AI, where you can just upload whatever information, synthetic data, put it on ChatGPT, use that and upload it in Julius AI, and you can frame questions. It will give you all information. Then you can go and play with, Python and Kaggle. So if you're trying to play with the data, I would say there are tons, and I'm happy to share tons of tools that I've been using as someone who's trying to get a job. I would say don't be afraid. And when I talk to students, I also mentor students on AI ML at different universities. I have 6 mentees who are in computer science, and they're like, I'm looking for a job, what should I be doing? And we have this monthly call with them. And we have a strategy. So we also do technical interviews. I ask them questions. And again, depending what stream you want to go to, think of like how AI, you can think about using, I'm just gonna put one LLM, ChatGPT, hey, I'm giving this interview, help me how to prep the questions, right? What should be, lead code if you're into engineering, right? So there are tons of things that you can use. Don't be afraid of not using AI tools. And one thing I would say, last thing is, nowadays in job descriptions, they have listed what kind of tools they want for this job positions. Before it was not there, now you do. So that will also give you a sense of like if you're looking for data engineer, analyst position, engineer, product, what kind of tools they want you to use. Yeah.
I got to vibe on this real quick, Steve. I'm going to come right back to you. AI is also not you, man. There's nothing going to be more authentic than you. And I also call bullshit on a lot of the stuff that, is written. Right? If I'm like, yo, write about Ben, it's like telling me that I'm like 6'5", 180 and looking dope, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it's not authentic. And like, I've hired over 400 W-2 employees in my day, and every single time, all I cared about, I mean, sure, there's a couple vanity things, like, oh, did they go to school? But I care about the special interests, man. I want to know who the human is, because most roles can be trainable, unless, of course, it's a very specific thing and you need to have PhD in data, whatever, you know what I mean? But for the most part, most roles are trainable. You have to be a trainable human. And the special skills for me is a snapshot into who this human is. And that tells me so much more than if you're like doing some long paragraph-driven biography. I'm not even gonna read it, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Steve?
So, by the way, Ben told me to weigh in, so that's why I'm talking a lot. So I'd say two things on this. One, so I'm a co-founder of a tech startup. We hired 3 people in August or July. We got 800 applicants in 6 hours. And so figuring out what we solved for was, and that was all on LinkedIn. So we solved for intellectual curiosity and adaptability. Because everybody can, by the way, every developer can develop in every framework according to themselves, right? Yeah. So there's really no separation on that. So I'd say, 1, it's really hard on that. 2, if you haven't looked at what Anthropic released on Tuesday, realize that every entry-level job is gone. The entry-level job of an investment banker was to build discounted cash flow models. They just automated that entire thing. So you need to think about, what would I have been able to do 2, 3, 4 years into my job as an investment banker, as a wealth manager, as a HR specialist? Because those baseline things, unfortunately, are automated now, and you need to assume that they don't need you to do that job anymore.
Because what we're going to end up with, is a brain drain.
Right.
Like, we're going to have all these people just like basically aging out and nobody to fill their shoes. Like, I don't know. We'll see how that pans out.
I still believe in the idea that you shouldn't use a calculator until you know how to do long division. Learning the basic skills of what this discounted cash flow model is, but don't think that anybody's going to hire you to build a discounted cash flow model. It's gone.
Actually, piggyback on what you mentioned, I didn't realize Anthropic Cloud moving to the wealth management.
I just found out.
I think as someone who spent 18 years in the institutional asset management, what will be opportunities for wide market space? Because every time Gemini, Cloud, make another batch of update, I feel like the cohort of startup just dies. So I'm curious, in your seats, advising and you see the trends of the fintech, where will be the imminent opportunities or thinking long term?
You want to take this?
No, I think that's where it's still about differentiation and what your value prop is. So like for Stan's case, for example, like if you're solving for financial therapy and none of these other systems are, if they're being generalists on the wealth management advice and you're solving for how do you invest your VC portfolio or your crowdfunding portfolio, I think that's where getting really verticalized is actually going to be a benefit. So yeah, that's one aspect. The other is, I think this happens, and this is going to happen in the AI space overall. There's going to be a lot more startups because it's easier to get launched, but the second phase of actually going out there, the number of people that are going to take the leap and go pitch at an event like this, even put their hat in the ring to get up there and get their startup out there and make the right connections. It's not going to be 100% of everybody. It's going to be still a smaller portion that go out and take the next step in their business. So the fact that you can code an application easier is great, but actually executing and getting out there in the community and meeting the right people is still gonna be more important than ever.
I'm hoping that it just gives those people superpowers, more with less. The biggest thing is visibility, right? If I'm a private wealth advisor, as an example, which I'm clearly not, I would have a portfolio of anywhere from like 1 to like 100 to 500 potentially clients, maybe less, maybe more. And if I leverage a tool that like has all that stuff and analyzes a bunch of stuff and floats relevant information when it is, and some CRM has ever been built to do but hasn't been able to do, actually, then I see that being incredible. But I also see potentially maybe fewer people entering that space because more can be done with less, but maybe new roles will show up in its place. I don't know yet.
Yeah, and we'll go to one and just add one comment. Think about, and that's like, and I think this is applicable to everyone who's thinking, oh, entry-level jobs are going away. What should I be thinking and doing? Maybe use AI to brainstorm with you and see, like, where I want to become irreplaceable, right? Where do I see myself in 5-10 years? If you're in wealth management, you're in, XYZ, what it looks like for you, and try using and brainstorming. And I think that's a opportunity, and many people are now shifting from the jobs and trying to work on their startups because they think like jobs can be replaced. So this is the right time for you to think about, where do I see my career, my role in 5-6 years. I think that will help you to think through.
Careers are non-linear.
Right.
Most importantly, just remember to solve really inspiring problems with really incredible people and be challenged every day and learn something and like carry on. And don't be afraid to pivot or do something else.
Yeah.
Period. The worst that'll happen is that you'll learn a bunch of new shit and expand your network.
The one thing that I would add to that is you've got to realize with AI, all of the advice is going to be mid-range advice. At no point is creativity more important than with AI. AI will give you the average return. The creative individual will be the outlier outside of that. Part and parcel of that is if you have a startup, the key thing is intellectual property. If you have a patent on a method to do something, it doesn't matter if that method is being done by a human, if it's being done by software, or being done by AI. You can monetize that method that you've figured out how to do. So the two things is be creative, and as soon as you have a creative new idea, patent it.
I think that's all we have for tonight. Thanks so much. We have 30 minutes to grab something to eat. Thank you so much for our panelists, and thank you for our audiences for a lovely conversation.
Jason and my man with the master plan, Stan. All right, let's get going. You guys ready to rock and roll? Feeling it.
Let's give 30 seconds for folks to grab something and take a seat. We're just getting started. Awesome. So as you guys have seen our founders pitching on the FinTech and their ideas, now we want to deep dive really quickly on what it means, right? So why don't we do a quick check in the room? Just raise your hand. Who are the founders? Like first-time founders, serial entrepreneurs? Oh, that's amazing. Great. Any mentors, advisors in the room? Awesome. Any investors in the room? Angel investors, VCs? Awesome. All right, that's great. So why don't we dig in, and we're gonna have some Q&As as well, so feel free to ask questions. The panel is about, as we know, there are tons of industries like FinTech, health tech, legal tech. Those are sensitive industries, meaning there are some rules and regulations, and before you launch something, you have to make sure you're compliant, right? Otherwise, there are lots of liabilities and everything. And in order to do that, as we all know, for past 3 years, AI has been making lots of change and trends. I mean, AI has been here for more than 10-15 years, but really every day, every startup, every company is trying to use AI, whether it's AI-powered products, whether it's in enterprise workflows, right? So today we want to dive in from our panelists what it really means. So my first question is, how would each of you define AI in FinTech today, the hype versus reality?
My name is Stanley. I'm the founder of Redefine. We're a FinTech financial therapy marketplace where we help individuals heal their relationship with money by connecting them with certified financial therapists. Probably a lot of individuals may not have heard about financial therapy, but it's a way to be able to impact individuals' relationship, root cause issues, stress, avoidance, things like that. When it comes to AI, me as a founder, especially the pressure in regards to, as soon as it became popular and we've seen the different use cases, I think as a founder, we're automatically thinking how we can automatically implement it. First, I think you kind of view what the operational workflow is that AI may actually have. When it comes to reality, or when it comes to more hype, where you kind of try to differentiate, I think about use cases where it's fraud detection. I think is a really important one that you want to think about when it comes to FinTech. I think
about segmentation, summarizing different aspects when it comes to AI, personalization. Those are the different ways that we're thinking at Redefine. We haven't implemented in our product roadmap, but those are the things that I feel like are just easy, respectful ways to implement it. And then from a high perspective, when it comes to actually providing financial advice, which I think that's not someplace that we want to be seeing AI used or completely replacing underwriting, but being able to use it hand in hand.
Jason Krause, Director of Startup Grind, and also founder of Prepared for VC, where we're coaching early stage founders through the fundraising process, both through individual side and through cohort-based programs. So yeah, I've also founded a couple of fintechs in the past. One of them, which AI tools would have helped a lot with, we coded with a low-code platform on Bubble. That was about 10 years ago, and what we built in a year and a half probably would take 3 days today. So one aspect, there's a lot more you can get done and develop right now. But on the other side, it's different than other industries where there's really sensitive data, there's a lot of rules and regulations, and if you make a mistake on something that affects people's financials, it's a lot more significant liability there. So I think there's this balance between what can the technology do and where are you including a human in the loop to actually verify and connect and be a part of the system. And for every company, it's finding that that balance of where the technology is accelerating everything that couldn't be done in the past manually or would take a lot more resources to get done, versus making sure there's still those guardrails and regulations protecting all the people that you're servicing.
How do you define AI in FinTech? What is the hype and what is the reality?
All right, hype at this moment, in my opinion, is like, oh, we're gonna leverage AI and plug it into everything to do everything for you, and it's gonna order your groceries, pay your bills, put your kids through college and everything else. And we are seeing that rolling out in a few different industries, but I think it's measured, and so I'm okay with that, and we'll see where it goes. They told me that Claude came out last week with a bunch of new private wealth management tools and stuff. And so it's new every day, but I think where they're pushing it, we'll start to kind of see what sticks and what doesn't. And I think it's going to come down still to the end user. Again, I don't need a bot to order Amazon for me. I don't care about that. I care about the usability side. I really do. I'm better with graphs, visual representation, playing with the data, having the data unlock insights for me, right? And so where I've experienced it in a very awesome capacity has been on personal management things like Monarch, right? It's tracking in all the inflows and outflows and everything else, and you can just talk to it and be like, dude, where's my money going, or what's coming up, or what should I be doing in capacity? I love that right now. So for me, I love the enhanced accessibility, pliability, because beforehand I always needed my guy from Lazard to do the number crunching. Now I can do it, and I'm really, really into that. And we'll see where it goes. We're also seeing a lot more the predictive marketplace models and these kind of things and everything else, and kind of coming in and either elevating deals or flowing deals your way based upon your concepts and stuff. And I still have yet to see that be really well integrated for people that are a little bit more financially illiterate, because I'm worried about the predatory practices and things like that behind it. But again, ask me next week and something will be different.
I love that because, as you mentioned, Ben, everyone has different use cases, right? Whether it's consumer product, whether it's wealth management, or whether it's using day-to-day lives, right? For example, there are so many apps like Rocket Money, right? It's just a simple budgeting, okay, where you're spending and what you're doing. But how AI is helping, I think they've been testing is, tell me, this is your budget. If you are gonna buy, let's say TV, you're not gonna meet your goal, right? So that's where it's giving you suggestions. But also I would love to ask you guys, given, there are companies who are using AI in some way, right? In some workflow, they have some features. How founders, if they are trying to think, oh, I want to include AI, a feature or somewhere, what's the liability? Meaning how they can make sure if someone is using AI, because there are rules and regulations. Nowadays they're saying oh, if an AI gives suggestions buy this stock, sell this stock, and that's a black box, right? So now they're if they do that, if they lose money, if a human lose money, it's the liability of the company. So in that case, how the founder should think about using AI in their product, and what as we're talking about the guardrails, what should be the thought process?
I'm gonna piggyback off some points you mentioned. As a founder, it's something that we want to add later in our product roadmap, and so it's at what point do we want to actually implement it? I think you mentioned as well, like things that Rocket Money does. We want to stay away from like financial advice, but for our financial therapy product, this is an opportunity where we can be able to provide data insights or stress triggers when someone is stressed out about their personal finances, right? And so if they're having conversations with their financial therapist, we can use the AI meeting note takers to be able to then summarize that information. And then, if we connect to like a third party that's trusted, like Plaid, in which now we can integrate, where their spending habits are happening. That's also tied with their actual conversation with their financial therapist. And then it's connected to, their actual financial goals. So it keeps them on track based off of like, hey, you're spending a lot of money here, or you have a financial goal to, save for a wedding or buy a house. Then we can be able to send those stress triggers, and it's more of a support system compared to like, oh, you need to do this, X, Y, and Z with your money.
I joined here 2 years ago on Friday, right? For the first 6 months, I couldn't even remember the word compliance, but I had to drill it in my head. And so that's the world in which I live in, right? So for us, we can't even leverage a lot of things with AI specifically yet, because like everything has to be on-prem, it has to be like super locked up, super tight, and we're not gonna give Sam Altman all of our data and our client data. It's just not gonna happen. And so a little slower to adapt to that capacity, but open to continue to sort of iterate in pieces and stages. And I think that's kind of similar with companies too, right? Like I think the way you guys are leveraging it makes a ton of sense around taxes, the IRS, and things like that, because there's all these available things that you didn't know about that we can just surface at the right time. But then there's also the level of it of like, oh, we're gonna start, throwing in a bunch of agentic stuff and we're just gonna rip it and don't worry about, compliance or anything else. So it's like, I think it's just about balancing the need, and obviously working with a ton of startups, like sometimes they're just a little too early to implement it where it really makes a difference because you don't really have those unique data sets that are unique to your business yet, right? So you can train it as much as you want with a bunch of outside data sources and stuff, but then when it really gets down to the road and commercializing and raising capital, it's like, what's your defensible moat? Are you just a wrapper? What's the situation? So sometimes it's really about just like drilling down, solving the problem for the customers, and then figuring out where you can incorporate it and implement it in certain ways. Unless of course it's going to be AI from the start, but thinking about the long-term roadmap and what your strategy is. Like today, like going back to what Jason was saying, like, what took you guys a year and a half and me back in the day, like href equals blah, blah, blah. Like, I literally like over the weekends in between a total of 2-hour block while I'm dealing with my kids, built a whole like Excel sheet analyzer thing and a hot sauce company. It was super fun. And so now I think it's wide open, but it's really about like, leveraging these tools to get you to MVP to actually start doing what you need to do, because sales cures all. And like, you can figure that out at Epic, and then at some point you're probably gonna need to rebuild. That might continue to extend as things get a little bit more sophisticated, but I think it's critical to really own exactly what you're doing. So as an example, Stanley over here with financial therapy blew my mind when I first learned about it, because I was like, yeah, of course, duh, like we all suffer from it at some point in our lives, or still, and didn't even think about it. But he's doing it right by kind of starting with like the human side of it first. What's the humanistic side? What's the human touch? What do we actually need to solve this issue? And then we'll leverage those learnings to then incorporate ways for automation, suggestive triggers, etc.
So you brought a good point, right? Like, okay, you have to try and everything, and I'll cover that, like build versus buy. But also, like, let's say this is a financial information, right? Like, how do you make sure as a founder, or you're developing an app, right? It's easy to make now, like you can just go and create the app, but the data, the financial information, the customer information, how do you go about that? Because let's say you have an app and it's a financial app, but to get the customers on the app is a challenge, and they like, don't use my data to train your product. So how do you tackle those? Like, because you will need the data, you need the financial information, but as a founder who's just starting off, how do you discuss about like opting out from training the customer's information to really make your product work?
I just discovered in ChatGPT that I could turn that off. I didn't realize. Did anybody here in the audience have a opinion on that question? Go ahead.
There is models that you can train on, applications that you can purchase that will synthesize your customer data. So we create synthetic data with a statistical reference. So they won't lose their statistical reference of the profile of your customer, but it will be fictitious, it will be synthetic. So guardrails that you mentioned that you can apply.
Synthetic data, like that's what I've seen people using it in healthcare or fintech or legal tech. Just play and see if it really works and create those scenarios and put some guardrails, right? So that's like one of the things. But when it comes in, like there are options in fintech, and maybe Stan, you can also like how you're doing it, right? Because customers can opt out, so you can't train the model, but that's something that the founders have to think about. Like, how do I gain the trust? So what I'm trying to get into is like, as you're using AI, as you're building your company, how do you gain trust of your customers and make sure like, okay, we're not using your data, we're not using your information, whether they opt in or opt out.
I think that's differential privacy is also a relatively new field that involves kind of anonymization of data, especially healthcare data. I was also curious, kind of relating to that in the last topic about errors and omissions insurance, which I was just reading about that someone sent me because I'm a startup founder trying to figure out how to stay out of trouble or deal with it if someone, even if they don't have a valid case, they can still take you to court, and I guess this can help pay for legal fees, the E&O insurance, and then there was this one article that said every AI company should have E&O insurance, and then especially in fintech where they can say, oh, I lost $500,000 because of your website, and then not having purchased E&O insurance. Also curious if you guys know anything about that and how that would factor into this. But I guess it's a type of insurance among the types of insurance that help guard against, and I guess there might be future new types of insurance like AI insurance, like AI accident insurance or something that could be in the future, AI hallucination insurance or something.
Yeah, those like the thing I think that is applicable in all industries, but I think I have seen in fintech, like if you are saying, oh, you use the legal advice from, let's say, a fintech product, and you as a human, like as a customer, you lost some money, and you'll go back to the company like, hey, I lost my money because of the AI chatbot said something or gave me information, and that is considered as a black box, right? And they are required, the companies now are required to consider as like, even if it's your AI, if it's not human, you have to deal with that. So they are making some compliances and rules and regulations.
I just don't like compliance, but it's critical in this era for sure. And I hadn't heard of that insurance, so I'm going to look into that because that would be something that would be hyper beneficial for all of our companies that we're working with. I mean, honestly, I'll bet you some of the guys know about those things, but yeah, I can see that happening 100%. I mean, obviously, also today with blockchain, we're seeing a lot of that where they're leveraging in that instance, they're leveraging the blockchain to have more transparency, kind of knowing what's going on. And so once it's on there and off the fiat system, then they can kind of have more guardrails and controls that are there. I haven't seen instances yet where it's like, don't use my data to train the model yet based on what people are using it for, unless it's like very B2B kind of scenario. But from a B2C capacity, most people right now are very open to just be like, do this for me, do something, and you'll figure it out. At one point, are people gonna stop caring, right? Like Google, right? Google's free. You guys use Chrome all the time, Gmail all the time. I mean, I don't hear it anymore because of compliance, but guess what? I mean, Google's got all your data already. They've been using it all along anyway. But did we care? No, because we had an email and a calendar and search, right? And at this point, I'm gonna have like bots doing my laundry and someone telling me, how to make money or et cetera. And I'm probably gonna let it fly. I think it's gonna be a really big B2B thing. And that's why we're seeing also with companies where they also have to be built like enterprise grade ready from the ground up versus leveraging like SMB sales to like go to market, shorten the sales cycle to make money and live, and then kind of graduate to the enterprise. We're seeing more companies right now that's like they need to be enterprise grade first, the security and all that other stuff, and then they can branch out.
I think OpenAI is a great example though, because basically they said, if you care about us using your data, it's $30 per team member per month. If you don't care, it's free. And go use the system, and we're going to train everything and get better. And so some people say, hey, I want the free version. Use my data, train your systems. I get everything I need because of that. Other people say, you know what, this is for my business. I need it protected, and I'm going to use a paid version and a premium case for that.
That's a good point. It's a good call out. Like we'll also work with companies where a lot of fintechs will want us to be their bank so that we can facilitate those transactions, the ABAs, the OBOs, the DBAs, all the abbreviations. You know what I mean? Which essentially means deposit, hold, sit, distribute. In that case, like those individuals, like they have to be SOC 2 compliant. They have to like, go through all of the kind of things in play. So I'm hoping that those kind of guardrails are a continuous thing. And, we'll see where the regulations continue to go with that. Like the administration or not, like they're definitely like pro AI. David Sachs, like him or not, is like trying to plow ahead with making things a little bit either open, that could be good or bad, right? But definitely not closing it. And definitely not making it state by state so that it's different in Mass than it is in New York, etc. So we'll see.
I've seen a founder, so they had a company, they were initial stage, to your point, and they had like, as a, early stage founders or mid stage, you have 5-10 customers, right? And you're trying to get them to pay, client, or you want them recurring client, right? So the reason why I was really interested about how you gain the trust, because one of the clients, they realized, oh, you are using our information to train the model, and the client asked, don't do that. And now the founder was like, okay, now what should we do? Because everything they had the built-in was using AI, training the information from the clients to give them the solutions. So then they have to find another solution. So you have to think in a way what your customers are really asking for and how and what you want to do as a founder. One of the points you guys mentioned, I want to ask about as founders, right? Depending whether they have funding or they're bootstrapping, when do they decide whether they want to build or buy, right? Because enterprises, yes, they have resources they can build, whether they can acquire, but as a founder, what should I be thinking about? Oh, this is the right stage to build myself, or should I just buy or rely on something else?
I haven't met a lot of first-time founders that are in a position to buy, but it is happening a little bit more because we're seeing a lot of smaller funds come out that are here to help people purchase, either aging businesses that are aging out, sterile businesses or whatever, and then incorporate some additional technology and everything else. Really good buddy of mine, everything he touches turns to gold. Got out of the venture game and is now funding people buying laundromats, businesses that are getting transferred from grandparents that don't want to, he's just all in on that business and it's doing really good. Because again, everything he touches turns to gold. But it's interesting to see kind of where that's going. I think it's all about build. If you're in a position to buy something and you think it's been poorly run and operated, and you can look at the mechanisms of it and figure out, okay, where can I cut costs? Where can I fully transfer this? And how can I incorporate my expertise to make it better and not have to do the 0 to 1 thing? More the power to you. I think that's awesome. But it's in a way, it's you can turn it into your baby, but it's still gonna be somebody else's baby and now your stepchild that you're raising and putting through college. And it also might have been built at a time where now you're also inheriting technical debt or no tech at all. You're really having to figure out, are you buying the brand? And if you're buying the brand, can you actually even afford it? Are you buying the tech stack and can you now do it overnight or a weekend better? I don't really see the reason for buying unless you're consolidating users and revenue overnight. I think you just need to have super high conviction in a spot and then build it from scratch to be better than what is out there. And you have to be pissed off to do it. Steve, you got a question?
I was going to comment in terms of
comments.
Build versus buy. I think one of the areas is around talent and development. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if this is build versus buy, but would you buy $50,000 worth of credits in Anthropic normally? I don't know. Does that replace a $90,000 engineer? Looking at those numbers is something that we need to think about as founders to say, yeah, it feels weird to spend that much money on AI, but if it's actually accelerating and being able to do something we would have otherwise had to hire for, I think that makes it. Yeah. It's the last 6 to 8 weeks has been a watershed in terms of that analysis.
It's a build versus replace. Kind of revolutionize their thing or whatever, but basically they're up to their stance, right, is I'm rocking Claudebot to do all this stuff and I'm spinning up virtual employees and I'm actually increasing the SaaS spend because each of them are also getting Slack, Notion, Google Drive, etc. So actually that's going up. But we're now spending $300 a day, so now each of these things is $100,000 a year, and blah blah blah, right? And so yeah, in that case, it's do we build it, or do we place?
What constitutes build versus buy anymore?
Yeah, that's what I got.
I mean, I think even with the model, if you're building an AI company, you're even making that decision of can we use, an Anthropic or OpenAI, or can we use an existing system, or is our differentiator, creating the LLM ourselves? And I think that depends on, are you going to be a platform company, or are you a fintech that uses AI to enhance everything else you're delivering? And maybe your differentiator is more on the compliance side, maybe it's more on you're matching people with, financial advisors, and it's more the matching algorithm or something else. It depends.
Yep.
Yeah, or maybe it's the LLM itself, and you have to make that distinction on, what's really your differentiator there.
Yeah, and I want to ask, go ahead.
I just had a question. Being an early stage founder, what is VC, if you're trying to raise capital, what's VC's perspective on whether, you're just buying a whole bunch of AI, implementing in your product compared to actually building it out? Because I hear different perspectives where, VCs only want to invest if you build it yourself versus, if it's, outside or in a whole bunch of integration.
So what's your perspective? So as an investor, are they interested in investing in the founders who have built startups, so when you say buy cannot be like, a little bit in their process, like, oh, I don't want to spend, I'm spending tons of time, like I can buy something or, just use another application to help me. So how do you differentiate like what they're investing in? How would you take that?
Well, yeah, my question, even for Jason, as from an investor standpoint. So, if an investor or a fund wants the founder to, build out their AI integrations, or compared to just getting it outside of that, then I think that's something that I got to take into consideration as well.
The example I like to use a lot is, the cloud technology before this. It used to be you're either a cloud company or you're not. Now it's just assumed that most businesses are, there's SaaS running on some sort of cloud software, and there's cloud companies, there's cloud AWS, there's a local Wasabi, and there's other big players that, they're the platform side, but every other business just uses that technology in FinTech, EdTech. So I think we're going to get to a place where it's going to be assumed every company, every FinTech, every EdTech is going to use AI in some capacity, but then there'll be platforms that are being built as startup platforms that people are investing for that. So yeah, if you're getting investment as a FinTech for the same reasons you would get investment, before this technology wave, you just have to show you are keeping up with the tech trends and you're implementing them the right way and positioning as a FinTech rather than an AI platform.
I moderated a panel about 10 months ago of 2 corporate venture capitalists, an angel and an institutional VC. Yep. 3 out of the 4 of them said, if you're not using AI, you are uninvestable. So, how define how you use AI is different, but so there's a duality that's happening in B2B, definitely, where investors want you to be using as much AI, and enterprise customers are a little still skittish, but enterprise, there's no doubt investors need to know what your opinion is, what your strategy is, and how you're using it. You can't be silent on the topic.
So I think this is the whole build versus buy is, are you using it to execute something with a 15-person team that would have taken a 50-person team, or are you actually creating the AI yourself? So one's a platform versus this use case.
Let me just also start by saying not every investor is correct or the smartest guy in the room. And it's important for you to be true to your own roadmap and how you're thinking about things. But Steve brings up a really good point. Where on one side, it's if you're choosing to go down that strategy, you just need to really know, articulate why you're going down that strategy, why this makes sense, what the roadmap is, and what your essential, maybe split off zone is going to be to really have that intellectual sort of moat. Why? It's okay if you're not. Just have a reason why, right? And it could be your reason right now, right? Where it's very compelling. This is a human-to-human scenario, man. I don't want to be talking to a bot, at all. And so I think it's just about understanding that side and knowing when and how. And then at some point, it's been a really cool wave. It's democratized access to technology, which I fucking love, right? I'm a non-technical founder, and it was really tough and very expensive for me back in the day to do what I was doing. And nowadays, anybody with an idea can bring something forward, bring something to market, and then they can make their own decision if they want to go down a venture track or not. I actually think that I've never seen a world where venture has been as threatened as it is now in that capacity, or the standard model, right? Because if I'm just a dude hanging out making a hot sauce company over a collective 2 hours of, over the weekend in between like diaper changing, I can bring that to, revenue generating, and I own 100% of it, and I own the keys to my kingdom, and I freaking love it, and so, but you can make that decision at that point. And I think the investors right now are dealing with another problem where it's like, okay, now their deal flow is so high. Because everybody, right, is building something. And so they have to actually dig deeper into the stack, into the philosophy, into the go-to-market. Can these founders, and they're still making, especially if this is your first company or whatever, like they're still betting on the founder beyond anything else. And so it really has to be like, what is your plan to, go from here to then either rebuild it from scratch because you've completely proven the MVP, you've got things, and now you're gonna stand it up from scratch to have the defensible mode, or it just graduates into something else. I really don't know yet. But what we do know, and if we just look at the stats, right, like, what is it? Over 70-something% of the VC dollars is getting sucked up into $100 million+ deals. A lot of them are infrastructure deals, which we're about to have a little bit of a blip in. And the amount of money that's flowing to companies that are raising under $10 million rounds has dropped from 48% to 22% over a 1-year period. So what we're seeing is there's more money out there than ever before, but a smaller allocation of it is going to earlier stage companies, and a larger allocation is going to these mega funds. As a result of that, what else are we seeing? We're seeing these mega funds, and look, we can't even call them funds anymore. They're essentially private equity, but everybody from Sequoia, Kleiner, and everything else. Like if you're making more on your fees than you are on your investments, like you're a freaking private equity company. But what you're seeing is a lot of these like junior guys coming out of the guys who actually are on the streets, the guys that actually are in the founder circles, that are actually finding the talent of tomorrow, and those things that are leaving those massive firms, starting their own smaller firms to invest in seed and pre-seed early, because honestly, they're the rock stars of those big companies now, and they're not given that flexibility and wiggle room. And so, again, too early to tell, but like that's what we're seeing right now. And I think either VC is going to have to kind of reshape the model, or founders are going to have to go at it longer on their own, and that's okay these days. It's a lot easier these days. It's still challenging, but I think it's still the reality of the situation.
So I have seen this